Okay, so you have
Lost
seen a
damn
lot of
money.
like people try to run grassroots campaign,
Hmm.
right? Like it is hard to get your foot in the
Oh
door
my gosh.
and do anything. So it's just like how do people stay motivated, or how do people feel, let me even try this, or is it even worth me putting in my time because I'm just going to get blown out of the water?
It is definitely worth your time. And I say this because it's about the people. My thing is, do you need money to run an election? Yes. Do you need all the money to run an election? No. I'll give an example of Ashley Spivey. I'm going to give this example because she is your prime example of what happens in the primary. So everybody, I mean, now that she's Senator-elect Ashley Spivey, um, people blamed us saying that the party got her into the election, and that is not the case. Me and Ashley are very good, great friends. That's one of my best friends. I call her my sister. You
Mm-hmm.
know, she called. Let me go this back. A few years ago, before Ashley had her youngest son, when we knew that Senator Wayne was terming out, we asked Ashley to run for office. This is before anybody else. This is when I was considering getting in, possibly. And Ashley said no. Ashley was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Plus, I think she was pregnant at the time. And she was like, I'm going to do this.
It's
No.
too much going on.
Yeah, like too much going on. We asked a few other people. The other people felt like it was below. They had ran for another office. They didn't want to run. They said no. Then I said, okay, I considered running. Now, I had a talk with Tracy Hightower, and me and her had met at a coffee shop at Zen Coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you exactly off of Harney Street, because I remember exactly where we were at. It was cold on this day. And we had a talk, and she had asked me about, was I going to run? I've been a lifelong resident of LD13. So I was like, you know what, Senator Wayne, I worked at the party. I'm gonna take this thing. Only thing, the problem I had was that you only make $12,000 a year, and I was like, how do I take care of my family? But I'm like, but I can do this. I can get a job because everybody else in nonprofit, and the senators was getting jobs at nonprofits and being able to work and still do the work.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be able to get a job because once you announce with the party, the chair, the vice chair, and states and staff you cannot run for office and be a staffer.
Yeah.
So you would instantly have to resign. And so I talked to Tracy, and she was like, Precious, I would never run against you. I understand you want to run for the seat. I know you've always talked about it. Now, mind you, let me go back to 21. I remember when she had called me when we thought that Senator Wayne possibly, I'll do the air quotes, would get a appointment as a judge. This had been talk, and she wanted to know would I support her if that was to happen, because at that point the governor would then elect somebody to appoint somebody to that seat, and then she would then turn around and run. Now at this time I was going to the Department of Education. So at this point I'm like, oh, my career changed, my career has changed. I'm going to go to DC. So I was like, yeah, I'll definitely support you. I told her how to get involved and be the delegate for LD13. Tracy, and I say this, like, not saying that she gave this to me as a parting gift, but Tracy, I'm not taking nothing from her. Tracy, when I moved to DC, Tracy gifted me with 80,000 Sky Miles to be able to fly back and forth to see my daughter, because I was coming home every 2 to 3 weeks. So I always want that to be very much so out there. I'm never going to take that from her. She's not a bad person.
Yeah.
Very, that was a very special gift to me, because that's the only way I was able to come home as much. And she would book my flight for me. I would call her and say, hey, I'm coming home this day. She would use the Sky Miles to book my flight. So always be very appreciative and very grateful for it that she did that. And so Tracy says, I would never run against you. Cool. So that day I left that meeting from that coffee shop with her, and I made 2 phone calls to 2 people. I said, I'm in. Me and Tracy spoke, I'm in. Now the next step was for me to find a job. Now at this point I'm gonna quit. I'm like, this is the same year. I'm like, dang, I'm gonna run because it's coming to me. Senator Wayne's about to term out. So I made that call, and I'm driving home, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm feeling good. I started to contact the people to start designing my logo. And so I'm in the process of doing a logo. I'm making a decision when I'm going to announce, because at this point it's like a year before. So this is 22 going into 23. So I'm like, okay, I got a little time. I won't most likely announce until the summer of 23 or the fall, because it really truly, I'm just thinking I don't need a year. And so I'm already planning with, telling Jane that this is when I'm going to quit. All of a sudden I get a text message from Tracy and was like, oh, I'm sorry. Is the same as, you know what? After heavy consideration and talking to people, I'm going to go and decide to run. I was like, wow. So I instantly blocked her. I blocked her that day. And so I was like, okay, cool, whatever. And so she did her campaign. She did her announcements, and something happened. Oh, people kept coming to me and was like, Tracy thinks you're still going to run. I never said I wasn't going to run. So this whole time she's, thinking I'm going to run. I'm not telling nobody I'm not going to run.
You were just waiting.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm just going to let you sit here. I'm going to let you, since you did this to me, I'm going to let you sit. I'm going to let you really sit here and think. So now at this point, there's people who are telling her I'm not endorsing you because I don't know if Precious is going to get in. So now she's, but then you have the white elite of Omaha who are now like basically trashing my name, saying these different things about me or whatever. And I just woke up one day and I was like, I'm not going to run. I was like, I'm not going to run. Yeah, because at this point, I'm like, I just don't feel like doing this. I really love what I do as executive director. I don't want my family to go through this. So I called her and I said, hey, can we talk? And so we met at Scooters on Mormon Bridge Road. Look, tell people I know where I meet people at. Look.
She knows where it went down.
We had a
daytime weather and everything.
Yeah, we had a very emotional meeting. It was tears.
Seriously?
It was tears. Yes, it was tears because I felt that passionate about LD13. And one of my biggest things that I told her was, because at that time we had exhausted, no one else was going to run. So I was like, I got to talk to her. And I told her, you have to promise me that if I don't run for this seat, you got to promise me that you will always have a kitchen table and you will always make sure that communities of color are at the table before you make any decision, and that you will talk to us and make sure that the bills represent, because this district means a lot to me. If people don't understand, LD13 encompasses every single economic class you have shelters, you have prisons, you have millionaires, you have low income, middle income, you have every class in this district. It's one of the most diverse districts. And so I was like, you have to promise me that. And then also I wanted her to promise me that she would get an emotional thing about it. I wanted her to do a bill for Alicia Shelton, because Alicia had went through so much with in vitro and IVF. And I promised Alicia if I ever got elected to office, I would do a bill called Amelia's Bill. And that would be to help mothers of IVF.
Wow.
Surrogacy. That's what I wanted to do. So I told her, I said, you have to promise me that you will always let us be at the table. Yeah. And so she said yes. And I said, okay, I'm going to call Senator Wayne and Senator McKinney and let them know. Because those are two that was holding out. Like, nope, we're not doing nothing. So I called them and they ended up meeting with her. I don't think Senator Wayne met with her yet because Senator Wayne was still in his process. And so fast forward to this year. I did go to Tracy's kickoff. We had a thing 13 strong. I was really, supportive of her campaign. 2 days or so before the deadline, Ashley Spivey, which is my best friend, calls and says, Precious, do you think I could win this race? I want to run for LD13. Like, girl. What the? So she says, what do you think? She asked me an honest opinion. I said, girl, that is going to be an uphill battle. I'm like, oh, shit. Literally, I'm like, the filing date literally was March 1. I'm like, oh, hell, Ashley. So at this point, I'm like, what? I think it was like maybe, it was like, and so I'm thinking she's not going to do it. This is what I'm thinking. After I said this to her, but I'm like,
there's no way.
Yeah, right? So I go about my business. I'm like, girl, Tracy been campaigning over a year. Girl, okay. So I go about my business.
Yeah.
I tell Jane the next day, and then Ashley calls me and says, oh, I just want to let you know I just went down and I just filed to run for LD13.
This was 2 days before the
deadline.
She called you 2 days before the deadline was like, do you think I could pull this out? Yeah.
This is amazing.
So I was like, sis. So at that point, and she'll tell the story too. At that point, I'm like, oh, these motherfuckers about to hate me because they're gonna think that we recruited her because she's that close to me. Yeah. I did not recruit her.
Yeah.
So I literally was like, oh my God. So it was that bad. I didn't know what to do. I don't know if I text Tracy. I don't know. I think she blocked me. I don't know what happened after that. So no, she didn't. I don't think she did.
Yeah.
I don't think she blocked me at that point. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So at that point I was like, Ashley, I have to remain neutral. Because it's a dim on dim race. And so I remained neutral. And Ashley did her campaign.
Yeah.
And it was and a lot of people were like, oh my gosh. And when she came through on that primary, I was like, whoa. So I give this example to say because she did not have a year and a half. Tracy had a year or more of campaigning.
And a lot of money.
And a lot of money of her own money. And Ashley literally won that campaign with less than $30,000.
Seriously?
Yeah, the primary, I think it was.
If I remember correctly, Tracy spent $100,000.
More than $100,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
and
kidding.
It's like, okay, so I had actually heard rumors, nothing that you had considered running.
I did.
And then you decided not to. So now I finally know that was true.
Yeah.
And I was pretty disappointed. No, I was just disappointed because I just thought that, objectively speaking, fact, on paper, black women are the best demographic for Democrats for a long time.
And we talked about that a lot.
And it's just, I'm not even trying to blow smoke, but it was like, if they have our back all the time at 90%, why didn't we convince Precious to run? And this is all my speculation.
Well, tell you, so the main thing, Tommy, is that I don't think a lot of people know. I take care of my brother who's a quadriplegic. He lives in a home with me. And the thing is that my daughter's at Creighton. Now, she has a full ride scholarship, so academically I don't have to pay anything for her education financially, but her books and her parking pass. But I was like $1,000 a month. But then I say this to say there's so many people who work who are legislators, who work in the legislature that have these cushy nonprofit jobs, but no one was looking at saying, you know what, Precious, we're going to make sure that you have a job in the nonprofit sector so that you can run for office. No one was throwing that out there. And I was just like, what the you want me to put my name out there and then y'all ain't gonna give me no damn job?
No, I understand.
The hell with you. But so that was a part of it. Was like, I'm like,
the support wasn't there.
The support, like, finance. But then also, no, let me take that back. It did come. It did come.
Yeah.
Jane had even said, I would hire you at Bold.
Ah.
She did.
Yeah.
But at that point, I'm like, do I want to do this? So I think it was more of when Tracy did that to me.
Yeah.
It made me so mad because at that point I'm thinking, now I have the white Democrat elites against me. And now these are the same people, these same people secretly will smile in your face, but really truly don't like you, especially when the whole James Scurlock thing and then the whole Don Klein thing and the fact that I read a resolution. I didn't write the resolution. I read the resolution that passed. And then he turned to be he changed his party affiliation to a Republican. These are the same people that were calling Biden, telling Biden and Harris to fire me from the campaign in 2020.
Yeah. Like
they had this whole smear campaign. And so then the day that he switched his party, I called all they asses on the phone. Oh, remember when you told me this? Look, he switched his party and now he's a Republican because guess what? He said he believes in Donald Trump. He voted for Donald Trump. And the reason why he voted for Donald Trump because he believes in law and order, and so does he. What happened to the whole thing? Don Klein believes in this. Could no one say anything? No one's ever apologized for that.
Yeah.
And so that was one thing, and I did get a lot of people saying, "Man, like you should have just did it."
Yeah.
You should have just did it. But I think there's always a plan, and I'm a planner, and I always think that God has something bigger for me in store for me, and He's always gonna guide me. And I have no regrets I am so proud of Ashley.
Yeah,
I am
of course.
so freaking proud of her.
She really pounded the pavement
And
for
if
that
you
race.
don't- yes.
So this is where I come back in. Yeah, I was disappointed that you weren't running, and of course, I didn't know any of the particulars, right? I didn't know why you chose not to. I didn't know if anybody tried to give you support. So I was just really bummed that it was only Nick.
We're on the
and-
outside. We
It's-
only see like
it's only
you know,
Nick and Tracy that were
Yeah.
running at this point. So I was just like super bummed, thinking like that was an opportunity for us till they've had our backs.
Yeah.
Why don't we get them back? And then Ashley jumps in, and I'm like, yes, I'm her biggest fan. She doesn't even know who I am. I'm telling all my friends and stuff like that, watch this race. I think she's going to be able to do it, even though Tracy had so much money. And yeah, no, it happened. She got in. She got a few hundred more votes than Tracy to get.
Was it, wait a minute, was it like,
it was close. I
it was,
feel
it was like 113 votes? It was close. That first race was close.
Yeah,
And so she literally made it through.
yeah, I was running circles. It was amazing. It was even amazing that she was David versus Goliath. She only spent a few, 10, 15 during the
first-
primary,
Yeah.
and she got in. And that's one of those things is we have to ask ourselves. And I had friends who were friends with Tracy Hightower, and they're very bummed about it. And I always tell people they're complaining about their candidate when they lose, and it's just like, you got to quit bitching and just win.
Right.
Shut up and win. But what I was trying to tell him is she campaigned for a year and a half, maybe.
Yeah.
She spent $100,000 and she still lost. Do you want to send that person into the general election?
Yeah. It's
like,
crazy. And
no,
then
you
when
don't.
she turned around and she endorsed Nick Batter, that was really a slap in the face because the same thing, like Nick Batter's campaign was literally, he hired someone who was like disparaging all of their names. Like he was calling, the lady was knocking on doors, calling Tracy different names. I mean, they have actually Tracy them. Like, I don't care. Like, now that the election's over, I'll keep it 100. There's videos and ring cameras of Nick Batter's person really talking about a bunch of crap about Tracy to voters. I mean, this woman was stealing signs out the yard, and then she turned around and she did the same thing. The same woman who did this had wanted to work for Tracy in the beginning, and Tracy was like, no. The same woman went to Ashley, wanted to work for Ashley. Ashley said no. So then she ended up getting Nick Batter, and so then she's stealing their signs. During the election, she's stealing Nick signs, she's stealing Tracy signs and Ashley signs and replacing them with Nick Batter signs. I remember calling Nick Batter on the phone. Look, bruh, get it together. Because this right here is one more of my candidates. Like, at this point, I'm like, I'm battling for both of Tracy and Ashley at this point because I'm like, you're not going to keep doing this.
Yeah.
And so when she endorsed Nick, it was crazy. And then the fact that she went and she started to say all these negative things about the party and about me and Jane. And it was like, really? Because up until the thing, like, I would speak to Tracy and her husband all the time. We would be at different parades. I did not take a stance. I wouldn't even wear an Ashley shirt.
Yeah.
I would show up at the parades. I would go to both of them, talk to them. Like, I was very neutral. And so when her and her husband went on there, it was really disheartening. Man, take that L. That girl outworked you. Your money cannot buy you an election. The thing is that let me just go and just say this, because even when the votes were done on the primary, and I don't care because she was on her way to Belize to go scuba diving.
Oh no, I remember that. Oh.
She left right after the election.
Yeah.
And so everybody gave her space. No one called her and was like begging for her to endorse Ashley. We gave her space.
Yeah.
And I told Ashley, you would be the one to call her to ask her for her endorsement. But it's like, I just feel like, you know what? I just feel like she couldn't. It just shows how poor sport she is.
Yeah.
And you thought because you put all this money in there that you were going to do it. No, she outworked you and walked out 2 pairs of shoes.
Yeah.